It's the sound which has to break the armor of the heart. You cannot go back in time. And it doesn't matter. No? It doesn't matter. We have this. So we have the love, we carry this, the students carry this. Many people still.
I'm here today with Rudolf Koelman, international soloist and professor at the Zurich University of the Arts. He's known also as one of the final students of the great Jascha Heifetz, an inspirational violinist with self-respect, musically speaking, integrity, and enthusiasm. I'll never forget the first time I heard you play live.
When was that?
This was in 2010. And before I even played for you, I went to a studio class and somebody was playing. It was in the building down the street here. We were in beautiful, sunny Winterthur, Switzerland. It was in one of the halls where the seats go up.
Oh, yes.
And you were sitting in the back. I was in front, someone's playing. And then you took the violin and you played, and I didn't see you when you were playing. And this was the first time I heard you live, and I swear it was like, it was like Heifetz was sitting behind me. That sound, that attack, that sensitivity. And it's nothing I'd ever heard before. And I'm a violin nerd. I knew all the violinists, and yeah, that moment stuck in my head forever.
But you never told me that.
I'm telling you now?
Yes. If I would have known, I would have treated you much different.
Better or worse?
Much better.
Okay. It's never too late. I want to go back in time a little bit and just understand, do you remember when you first heard recordings of Heifetz, and kind of when you caught Heifetz fever? Was it immediate or was it an acquired taste?
Yeah. I had lessons from a very special teacher. He was a painter and he also played the violin, and his son actually studied with Heifetz. When I was 7, I started with the violin, and this painter, this man, he looked at my fingers and he said, yeah, that might be possible that he will become a violinist. And his son he had 5 sons and they all played violin, but he had a 17-year-old son at that time, and he went to Heifetz with 18 or 20.
In California?
California, yeah. And so he came in the class, and from that moment, it was all Heifetz in that house, recordings, and then it was Christmas, and then, listen to this, Heifetz
White
playing
Christmas.
White Christmas, yeah. And so I got to know this sound, and then once the son came back, and he made for me this tape recorder reel, with all the recordings of Heifetz.
Wow.
And I still have the machine downstairs. We can have a look at it. Yeah, it's amazing. And then I noticed that when I listened to that music, to that recording, and I would lie down on a bed, I would feel the blood in my veins stream. Yeah, so it's a very strange thing that I'm telling this. I never thought this, but I could be in some kind of a trance, or some kind of a other level, and close my eyes, lie in the bed, and feel in all the veins till my tips of my toes and fingers, the blood stream.
Well, it's interesting the way you describe it, because it kind of similarly, the way I hear Heifetz is, it's almost as if every part of his being, every part of his body is embodying his sound. Mm-hmm. That like even in his little pinky, he has like the entire soul and character of his musical persona. Mm-hmm. And that way it's like the violin disappears and you just hear the voice, and it's like a direct communication without translation.
The technique. I always think the technique disappears. It's beyond technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he also was, funny enough, he was never talking about technique. People think, yeah, scales and all these things, but he never talked about things like that. From the age of 12, in 1972, I studied with Herman Krebbers. And this was at the Amsterdam Conservatory. Krebbers, he was a noble man and a fantastic violinist. And at that time, he was first concertmaster of the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra. So when I was 17 years old, still studying with Krebbers, I was slowly looking into study options abroad. And then suddenly I see this advertisement for a scholarship with Heifetz. Of course, this was something unreachable for me because it was in America and it was Jascha Heifetz. And of course, I applied, but my only goal would be to just see this man and just play for him, meet him once in my life. I was actually invited, yes. So I went to LA to do audition with 12 other candidates from all over the world. And from those 12, 6 were chosen to play for Heifetz. I was one of them, imagine that. I already reached my goal of seeing this guy. And then in the end, he chose me to study with him. It was incredible. I would have never expected to win that scholarship.
For those that don't know, there are these wonderful Heifetz Masterclasses. This is like in the 60s, I guess?
I guess, yeah.
It's black and white, and you know, it portrays Heifetz, I guess he portrays himself in a very particular way.
Yeah. I don't think it's... we didn't quite make it. You're panicky and very confidential at the same time. Quite a combination. But anyway.
But you also have to consider that as a document of that time. You know, there were not many masterclasses filmed by that time, so this was quite special to film a masterclass of an artist. And so he's acting. He's not like it really.
Well, he's from Hollywood, so he
understands. But when I look at those films, I think the one where he imitates an audition.
Oh, it's so good.
That's Heifetz. That's how he was, you know, with a lot of humor and face like this, so you don't know if he's joking or not.
Class, dismissed.
And do you think that in his playing you hear some of this, let's say, real Heifetz? Do you feel the personality in the playing, or is the playing kind of his invention?
I think he was always imagining things of life, of sad things, beautiful things, nature. Yeah, and that's also what you see when you hear it.
Yeah.
And I had an amazing experience once, not only once, but amazing experience. I was playing the Bruch Second Concerto, and I practiced really well. And of course, we all in the class, we had this Heifetz sound in our ears. And when we would do glissando or something which would be similar, like he would doing, he would have this thing.
You have it's frightening to me that you have that ready so quickly. Like
because I was thinking of it when you said you were coming. I never showed it to any of the students, but I think this is a nice thing to show. And it was given to him by the Dutch student, the other Dutch student.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and it's an invention. It has a pen in it.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, this was of course great because you could go on a board, you know, you could first write something and then go on a board and say, yeah, start from here. And so he used this in the lesson to tap on a little table he had in front of him.
You are the stingiest fellow when it comes to the bow. Use some more bow.
And he was sitting in his studio in front of the window with the sun, you know, on the south side in Beverly Hills behind him. And so you wouldn't see his face. You wouldn't see the expression on his face. And it's quite scary actually. So you would play your stuff and then when something is wrong, he would tap on the table. And on that table, there was a spot, you know, it was made of wood. It was like almost a hole in it.
The same spot, very accuracy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was playing the Brook. And at the end of the first movement, he tapped. He said, "What do you want to say with this, you know, with this passage?" And well, I don't know. I want to play it beautiful. And he said, "No, you have to imagine something there, and it's 3 notes." He said, "You have to imagine that you're standing on a dock." And there's this big, huge ship leaving. And the love of your life is on that ship. And you will never see that pretty face in your life again. Then he went to the violin and he played these 3 notes for me. And I tell you, I saw the ship. I saw this. And it went like and still when I'm telling this story, I feel this shiver. It was such a experience, this old man standing there and playing that. It was like, yeah. We can analyze it. We can try to imitate it, but this has no sense.
Right.
Yeah?
So he didn't like when people imitated.
No.
But is it because it wasn't convincing, or just fundamentally he didn't want people to try to sound like him?
Do something else. Yeah.
But how do you do something else when he does that in front of you? There's nothing to do other than that's like
no, but you have to put your feelings in it and then do it your way, and that has to be convincing.
And did the students struggle with that? Like that's
it's
so
very difficult. Yeah, but of course you have elements of his playing, the attack, the sound, and yeah. But he was always, you know, when somebody made the glissando in the Rondo Capriccio, so which we all know, there is the glissando and there comes this, because you kind of have it in your ear, you know. Then he would tap the table with his pen.
When they do his glissandos.
Yes, then he would tap the table and he say, "Copycat, copycat."
How many taps did you get?
Well, sometimes. Yeah.
But I mean, I can't imagine your sound without that spice, that element of it. So did he have a problem with, I mean, you sounded like that at that time too.
But the sound has, of course, many components.
Yes.
It's, you have a vibrato, you have an own vibrato.
Sure.
And it's not only the glissandi or...
Right, of course.
Yeah. And the attack, of course. And then the ground sound of the gut strings.
Yeah.
Are you using gut strings? No.
No. I have though. I have. Have you tried this Heifetz set?
No. I tried many strings, but I'm always getting back to the olive.
It's a beautiful string.
Yeah.
And they last a while, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not sponsored by Pirastro, but
no.
I mean, they should be sending you free strings. What is this?
No. But these gut strings, of course, they have a great sound, but they get untuned very quickly.
Right.
So you have to tune all the time. And he demonstrated that actually he untuned his violin slightly, of course, and played the Bach fugue, G minor. And then he was tuning during playing. I mean, think of that. So you would see this little finger, you know, and then he registered that the D string was out of tune a little bit. So he pressed a little bit there, and then and then you see. Actually, if you think of it, nowadays people use artificial strings just to play more in tune, because you don't have to tune. In the orchestra, you can, and they are cheap, but that's actually not true, because the gut strings they hold for like half a year or 1 year,
Right.
and the others they lose their overtones after 3 weeks or sometimes after a week. This flexibility you need to play on gut strings, because they are always a little bit out of tune. Yeah, you have to be aware. Where am I on the violin? Yeah, and you have to adjust.
Like right now, I hear your A.
Yeah, yeah, but still, I can play in tune on a slightly out of tune fiddle. And when you have a fiddle which is always in tune, you get kind of lazy. Yeah, you don't listen to your sound anymore. You don't listen to the intonation, because you take it for granted, and it's kind of a mathematical playing, because you get used to a certain intonation.
I see that trend in general, though. There's this kind of desire to control the instrument.
Yeah.
And so this comes eventually.
Yeah.
And then...
Not with me.
Right, well, you
know this was the first thing Heifetz threw out of the window.
Yes. I mean, did he have any students with this beautiful long neck?
Well,
but it's not even that.
I have a beautiful long neck too.
So how much would you say you rely on that versus the hand? Is it like 50-50?
I hold it, yeah. Maybe 30%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But it depends if you go up.
Sure.
Yeah? If you go down, you have to hold it a little bit, because otherwise...
But he didn't hold it at all on the shoulder, right? It was collarbone?
No, he had a little pillow under his coat.
So it was touching...
Yeah. He showed me. Yeah.
Do you crawl much or not so much?
What do you mean?
Like crawling instead of just trombone shifting?
I do the trombone shifting.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And here it's free. Here I'm free.
Yeah. So you have this kind of balance, because it's an old way, but also with some modern enhancements.
Sure.
In terms of the setup.
Yeah. What we said before about the gut strings and playing in tune and being aware, you always have to be focused on what the sound, what you produce.
Yeah.
You know, and I had the luck to see this 80 centimeters from my face and listen to it and see what's happening, you know, where to put the bow, you know. Put it a little bit there when you want another sound, a bit more here for the attack. Yeah,
I feel people do that these days, but it often sounds like I could see they're just making a decision. Like it's not this integrated
you have to
image.
You have to feel it.
Right. Like people are just, someone told them to do it, and now they're following directions, and it's kind of...
No, it is all a feeling.
Yeah. But it's such an important thing, I think, that you mentioned about this intonation. It feels funny, like why would you play in an out-of-tune violin? But that's also just how... But
slightly out of tune. You know, it's good for you.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good for you, because it can never be actually in tune. And this phobia of playing on strings which hold for a year the same tuning, you know, this...
Right.
It's actually breaks this feeling of intonation.
It's kind of a comfort zone.
Yeah. And also playing certain notes a little bit higher or a little bit lower, to speak with your intonation.
Yeah, I'm surprised how many people think that there's like one perfect place for a note.
Yeah.
And that's intonation.
Actually, that's the thing, yeah.
And Heifetz, I mean, a lot of notes were sharp just because this creates such an effect, like technically sharp. You'd never think hearing it, oh, that's sharp, because it's so integrated.
Yeah, if the sound producing is beautiful, then it actually doesn't matter. It just adds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also Chrysler, you can, if you analyze it on a scale with a machine, you know, everything is out of tune.
Right.
But it's still beautiful.
Right.
And it's still telling things. It's the sound which has to break the armor of the heart. Yeah, because you go on a stage, you know, and the concert hall is full of people with an armor for their feelings.
Yes.
They want to be touched, but they have an armor. They have a barrier. Otherwise, they all start crying when somebody comes in the concert hall. This is what happens, of course, with people like Heifetz. They come in the hall, they start playing, and you think, what is this, you know? And he's not even moving his body and waving his hair, and
he's like a tornado in place.
Yeah.
Or like a diamond.
Yeah, it's incredible, this focus.
Where do you think his sound comes from? You know, I've been thinking about this, like, not just him, but all these great violinists at that era, Milstein, Yehudi, in different countries, and they all seem to develop this incredibly personal and expressive sound.
It's just there's a need for it, yeah, because we want to hear a voice. We want to get touched. I think the basics is the singing.
Did Heifetz ever talk about singers? Because he did some collaborations, right? Everybody was doing back then something.
Yeah, with Bing Crosby.
With Bing.
Yeah.
And while the golden splendors gleam, still sleep, my love, until 'tis ended.
Can you think of any particular bits of advice or things that he said that just stuck with you and still are like back there in your mind, and maybe you pass it on to your students?
You know, we all think we have to practice a lot. We have to work a lot on certain things. And of course you have to work, but you also need a talent. And if you have a talent, then you might need to work less than you think. There was this time that I was practicing 8 hours a day. If you believe it or not, but I really did. And I did it for 2 months. And then I got so tired and so disappointed actually by the result. And also Heifetz got really disappointed that I had a talk with him on the end of that session. And he didn't know that I was doing that experiment, but the lessons were not going well, and he was always breaking me off. He says it's not ready, and then on the end I asked Mr. Heifetz, you know, I had eyes like this, and because to do 8 hours a day you need a schedule.
It's like an athletic.
Yeah, it's really,
yeah.
It's really tough. Because you have to do your stuff, you have to do your laundry, you have to go to the school, you have to also practice piano.
So you were juggling a number of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but really like military, yeah, I did this. But I got so tired, and then I asked Mr. Heifetz, and we were actually not really allowed to ask him things, but I was kind of young, you know. So I asked Mr. Heifetz, how long do I have to practice? Yeah. Or how much more do I have to practice? And he said, that's a very stupid question. Yeah, and at that time, you know, I thought this is the guru telling me that's a stupid question, so I have to find out the answer myself. So what I did was that week I was playing video games, Space Invaders and
That's a classic.
Missile Command, and I thought, you know, I will not practice more than 1 or 2 hours a day and just play games and have a good time with friends and go to parties. And I came to the lesson and things were fine, he said. Well, the best thing he ever said was, it's not bad. Yeah, so, but he said, it's not bad. So I had the confirmation that actually practicing so much is not so helpful.
And did you feel that difference?
Yes, it kind of got free of that pressure, you know, of that fear of being good. And I think he was a violinist of no fear. He added to it, he said, you have to practice when you feel like practicing. Yeah, so you make a cup of tea, you make yourself as uncomfortable as possible. And then maybe it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you didn't do anything before. And you bring in 1 hour, you bring more than some other people in 6 hours. And that helped me a lot, I tell you, really. And he said he is a master in wasting time.
Well, Chrysler used to say the same thing. I mean, he practiced very little, especially as he got older. And, you know, he would say that he got done more in 30 minutes than most people in hours, just because it's so practicing with purpose.
Yeah.
Because you want to. And for a long time, I thought, like, I've never been able to do this 8 hours a day. Yeah. Like, I forced myself
but
sometimes.
You know, it's a way of thinking, because if you have talent, you are beyond the technique part. And how many people are practicing scales and doing these? So it's easy to say, but if you have the talent, you can do it. But if you have less talent, you have to practice this passage in octaves, and it has to be in tune. And
people can have different kinds of talent, of course. And like, maybe you have a talent in playing Paganini, but with, let's say, Brahms or Mozart, like, it's not on the same level in terms of artistry. Like, you just don't have a feel. Should people go towards their talent and, you know, be ready to just not address their weaknesses and just focus on their strengths? Like, how do you see that?
That's what I think, yeah. But many people think, of course, focus on the things you cannot do, but it will take you a lot of time, and maybe you will never be able to do them. Yeah, so you have to consider. I always think that what you do good, you should recognize. And if you find in a student, or if I find in a student some really strong part, you can even make it stronger, and you can, exploit it? You can use it, you know? If you are good at Bach solo sonatas, play all of them. And record all of them, or if you are good at modern music, then do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the culture of the education system and just music careers, it pushes people to be well-rounded. Like, there's this incredible
all-rounded.
And for a long time, until I got out of school, I thought I needed to be. And then you start playing for audiences, and they don't care if you're well-rounded. Like, are you presenting something that's touching now, today?
Right. Absolutely,
what is it? Yeah. And like, the rest is whatever. Yeah. I mean, is it possible to have a school system that can value that and say, no, you don't need to do.
Well, you have to have a school like that, yeah, a teacher who recognizes this thing. Otherwise, you will be practicing your whole life and not being satisfied, and also not satisfy your audience.
The things that are weak for me, I do practice them, but in private.
Yeah.
I can't help. Like, I feel we're all slightly masochistic as musicians, so you have to kind of put salt in the wounds continuously, because you kind of get better, I think. But that's different than performing necessarily for an audience, because it's for them. You know, and like who wants to see you show your effort when someone else will do it effortlessly?
Yeah.
That's just my way of saying I'm lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Laziness, though, I don't know. What do you think about because I think it's
well,
like...
it's funny that you say it, because once I came in the lesson and I could not prepare well, because there were some things I had to do that week, and I had to go back to Holland. But he never actually was considering when you had a concert abroad. You had to bring your program. Yeah, 2 Paganini Capricci, 1 movement of a sonata, 1 movement of a violin concerto, and a small piece. That was standard every week. Yeah, so if I would ask for permission to have a concert in Holland or in Europe, then he would give it, but he would say, you are here at the lesson and you will prepare that, and we will not prepare your Bruch 2nd violin concerto. So then I was not well prepared, and so he said, why is this like this? And I said, well, I had this concert, and my flight was delayed, and I was in the plane. And then he said, jij bent een luie Hollander. Yeah. It means a lazy Dutchman. Yeah, but we were maybe 2-3 students, and the rest was auditors, so they could listen, they could be there and listen. So
just
we had
2 or 3?
Yeah, and 1.5 years I was his only student. He kicked everybody out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. Once a student asked Mr. Heifetz, why don't we have exams, from the school, from USC, every year or every semester, just to have a checkup and to be nervous, So, and he said, every lesson is an exam here.
The whole thing is an exam.
As a Heifetz student, you don't play in the orchestra.
Those days are over.
You don't have to do exams, and you don't do solfege and music history and all these things. So it's just violin.
Isn't that a bit dangerous, though?
Well, some people make it and some people don't.
Yeah. Did he encourage everyone, to, I guess, on your own time, to cultivate your education, whether it's like literature, or films, or if you're not going to music theory class, I mean, how are you going to learn? Because he was a very cultured man. And
he said he learned 36 instruments. He could play the clarinet, the oboe, the piano, the tuba, the flugelhorn. Once I was playing the César Franck Sonata, 2nd movement.
The Frank Sinatra?
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And he came up from his chair and he started playing the accompaniment by heart. I mean, that's not easy.
No, it's not.
And he was 81.
Did he ever talk about his teacher, Leopold Auer?
Not really, but he talked about the old times, that they had to walk through the snow and have cold hands. And Auer was teaching sometimes that you had to hold books under your arm to get the feeling of a low arm when you play, and to press. Well, I tried it. It's very difficult, and it might give you a cramp after a while.
I'd love to ask you, if you were introducing Heifetz to someone, what recordings would you send them to?
There's so much, but this from Rossini. It always sticks out for me because it has so humorous things, and it's so beyond technique.
Yeah,
it's so speaking. Also the Waxman, Waxman, and of course, the Rondo Capriccioso, and many things. But those things are really sticking out. Yeah. The magic, the genius.
I have a dream that this becomes mainstream. Again.
The time is over. I mean, now you're very disappointed, maybe. But that time is over. It was real feelings. It was real Hollywood. It was that time, and then the 60s came, and then... But you cannot go back in time. It doesn't matter.
No?
It doesn't matter. We have this. We have this old thing. Yeah, so we have the love of this, and we have this, we carry this, the students carry this. Many people still.
To what degree could we separate the playing and all the technique and just everything that makes this sound from the particular time period and environment? I think this is something that like historical performance movement also struggles with. Like obviously that time is very over.
Yeah.
And they've built this whole thing around this sound, and it's kind of become very successful. And I have this dream that like this has the same kind of renaissance that historical performance had, like starting in the 70s.
Absolutely.
Or whatever.
But listen, I was working with Harnoncourt in the Concertgebouw Orchestra. Nobody wanted to work with him because he was so scary. He had these rolling eyes, and so it was one of my first times that I had to work with him, and he wanted to see me before the first rehearsal. And so I came there, and my heart was pounding, and this man. And so I came in the green room. You say the green room? Yeah? Mm-hmm. And he said, Mr. Koelman, the new concertmaster. And he was there already for years, every year. And he said, I heard you studied with Jascha Heifetz. And he's a big fan of Mr. Heifetz. And he even met him once and drank tea and asked him things. And they were talking for an hour. So it's amazing that you studied with this man. And his sound actually is the ideal sound of violin, because he's using gut strings. The sound got to the Pope of, we say the Pope of Baroque music.
Right, that's interesting. How is he able to simultaneously love
he was
that
a cellist, and he loved the sound of Heifetz. Also his tempi, the fast tempi, it was like, You're talking about the sound of the gut strings, not the style of Hollywood, not the vibrato, which all fitted at that time.
Yeah.
But why was there a change? We are stuck with it now already for maybe 100 years. No, not so long.
1970, I think, dominant, something like that.
70? Yeah.
70s, yeah.
You see, so it's only 50 years. And people are struggling because there's no feelings anymore, and there's no real things what we are talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we bring a kind of a renaissance back of?
But I'm doing this my whole life already, and I take the winded strings.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the best quality, so the stiff G and the silver D. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But inside there's the gut,
I was thinking we could take, to me, a very typical Heifetz moment and just see what's going on, and you can tell me how to, how you would approach it.
You have to have some kind of fingering. Of course, you practice a bit, but you can also change it when you're on the stage. And so there was a time that I didn't mark at all anything, no bowings, and just play like you feel like. I would, first of all, I would put the mute, because you get a totally different sound.
Right. Tell me about this mute.
Okay, I tell you about this mute. Once Heifetz came up in the class with a big envelope like this, and he took out some black and brown rubber pad. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, who would like to have a mute today? Yeah. And so I said, me, Mr. Heifetz. And then, so he said, okay, this was my invention, and I still have some. So, and it was like this brown thing, you like a pill, you know, like a medicament. You press it out, and it was like hundreds of those on a screen.
So he was in manufacturing.
Yeah, so he no, he of course he had it made.
Yeah.
But that's how they came.
I see.
You know.
And you pop them out.
You pop them out.
Oh, that's funny.
And so I hold my hands and so he, yeah, and also the black one. And it says here Jascha and Heifetz. And he said the special thing about this one, because there are many imitations, but this one has a steel feather inside. And because of the letters, it holds perfectly there.
Ah, like when you're not using it.
So
does that affect the sound?
No.
Okay.
You can always have it. Yeah?
Okay, so
Yeah.
wow.
It's good, eh?
Just like that.
Yeah. And it has these music notes on the top. That's nice too. I would do this. Too high. Yeah. Maybe not tap so much. I think I don't do it.
Well, because you have this pinky.
Yeah, but he would say, if you do a glissando there, he would say copycat. So no use to do it. You can do it too. Yeah, that slide was too much. Nice, yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so I pull back very fast.
Or
Yeah, that's how I do it.
like not too obvious.
Yeah, because you go up already. Yeah? Yeah, it's enough, you know, it's a nice slide going up and then connected. Yeah, a glissando should never be disconnected, you know, to the next note. You should always think of the note is coming, not on the glissando. If you focus on the glissando, it gets unnatural. Going up also, I focus on this, not...
Yeah.
Yeah?
It has this feeling of, it continues, like it pushes it forward instead
but also,
of focusing on
also the bow. If you do,
right,
it's broken. Well,
feel like this should be
Yeah. So
up bow.
what you did now, actually, you connected this note, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, automatically to make the connection. Before we were talking, you can do it also. The pressure of the bow should be totally equal when you do down, up. Here, and don't vibrate every note, vibrate the hand continuously. Yeah, so you get this vibrato line in the bow changes. So if you do slow motion,
Yeah.
and then you change the bow, you are here, right, with the vibrato.
Yeah.
And then it should continue. And also when you do another finger, if you will, and then you should, it should have this wave.
So it shouldn't come like
If you do
on an
separate,
exact.
you hear it. That's a total different line. Yeah. And now you did it was good, but you did the same vibrato. You have to change the vibrato amplitude.
On the G string, you mean?
Yeah, on the Yeah, good. With the bow, you have to continuously. And not. Yeah.
It's interesting because it's such a simple melody, and
Yeah.
really Heifetz developed these kinds of things in almost a vacuum. Like nobody else did this kind of thing. Layer on this expression, because there's so many decisions and so many no's. I mean, we're talking about like the thinness of a hair sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if the vibrato stops a little bit, dead.
Yeah.
Or like little thing, the slide is just a little too greasy, dead.
Yeah.
How do you come up with those choices?
Of course, you can rationally explain those things. Yeah, a little bit more vibrato there, and but still, you have to feel it and you have to do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not well meant or it's not honest. If you want to be honest in that way, play repertoire which Heifetz didn't play,
Yeah.
because you cannot compare. Huh?
That's clever.
Yes, I mean, but the problem
This is why you play Paganini concertos.
Right, now you're thinking. Yeah. And the Prokofiev sonatas. And,
Why didn't he do those?
Yeah, he never did. And actually, he once, he told me, now you get another story. I recorded Glazunov and the Saint-Saëns lately. And when I came to him, I asked him, Mr. Heifetz, when did you record the Glazunov? I was studying that with him, and he said, oh yes, and of course I said, big admiration, your Glazunov. You know the records? I thought he looked so old. You know, when I came to him, I was 17, 18. And I thought, it's amazing when you are 63 and so old and still play like this, you know? So I told him, yeah, big admiration and so, and he said, yes, he recorded that 15 years ago, and he would have loved to record the Saint-Saëns third concerto and the Prokofiev first concerto.
I would love to have heard his first Prokofiev.
Yeah, me too. And so I took this in my mind, and I turned 63 2 years ago, and I recorded the Glazunov and the Saint-Saëns. Yeah, with that in mind, of course. And yeah, I made it. I did it also. So now I'm also that old as he was.
What do you think the secret was for the longevity? Because that's kind of a big thing. People like him and Milstein, the longevity, you know, being able to play on such a, I mean, that last recital, oh my God, it's such incredible play.
Yeah, 1972.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. And the Bruch. in France,
Yeah,
where he
the
had a
Scotch.
fight with the conductor.
This is what you're going to do.
What I'm not gonna do.
So how,
Yeah.
I mean, is it genetics? Do you think it was there like an extreme efficiency and looseness that allowed him to play so well into his later years?
Yeah, it must have been some kind of play of nature,
Yeah.
a gift, you know.
Maybe Milstein probably performed even later.
Yeah, I saw Milstein when I was studying with Heifetz, and Heifetz actually sent us to the concert. And the ones who didn't go to the concert had to pay a fine.
So do you think they had a relationship, or he just had a respect, like a mutual
He had
respect?
respect, and they knew each other. Yeah, they would, meet.
It's very different. They went into different cliques, kind of, in the musical world.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. Did he ever talk about Piatigorsky?
he was very sad still because Piatigorsky died a year before I came. Yeah.
There are people with huge sound out there.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the difference between people that have a big sound versus the attack of Heifetz versus just overpressing? And it's not just a big sound.
He couldn't be overpressing with cut strings. Yeah, think of that.
Right.
If you press too much, then it's just scratches. Yeah, he didn't overpress, but his vibrato is very significant in places like that.
So the right and the left affects the right. Did he vibrate open Gs?
No, never.
He didn't do that?
Yeah. No. He said, come on, if somebody started like a... yeah. He said, no, tap with the stick. And he would say, yeah, the composer, he knew what he was writing. So if he writes an open string, he wants this sound.
I totally agree with that. I think many violinists from his generation did do it. It was like religiously, you never do a pure open G.
Why?
But it's so nice, the color of it.
So make the crescendo from that moment. Yeah, that's more exciting.
Just continuous intensification.
It's the feeling you need. Yeah. Did you notice you had a little squeak?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. The line was there. The line was there.
Are you leveraging, are you rotating like pressure into the finger through the thumb? Or are you kind of holding the fiddle here?
Don't ask me those things.
If I ask you again, you'll forget how to play.
Have a look and try to... Yeah. There was this girl playing Wieniawski Concerto. First movement. Quite well. Then there's this passage, this first passage with the staccato. Yeah, and she tried to do this in the uppo, and she stopped. And she asked, Mr. Heifetz, can you explain to me how to do this staccato? And Heifetz replied, he was doubting what to say. He was always very surprised by somebody stopping, in the middle of the piece. And so he said, if you can't play the staccato, you shouldn't play the Wieniawski. Yeah, and of course, nowadays you will think, oh, such a bad teacher. That's ridiculous. You cannot say this to a student. You have to explain, But actually, a few weeks before, he explained perfectly well to all of us how to do a staccato. Yeah, and that it has to be tough, and I was experimenting with that from the moment he told us.
Yeah.
And I had a good staccato. Yeah, so...
You mean naturally or because of experimentation? Like
no,
you worked on it?
I worked on it. I experimented.
Yeah.
But I never asked somebody or thought how to do this, you know, and then somebody says, okay, you have to do Was that Glazunov?
Well, so what I'm noticing, like, you're not afraid to start the new bow with the energy. People are afraid to like unwanted accents, but I think that fear kind of kills the connection sometimes. And you're driving the bow, but it doesn't sound like there are these unwanted accents.
Sometimes I do a bit too much accents.
Well,
but
happens to the best of us.
If you, what would you do?
You know, the vibrato delayed, and there's kind of a round bow change.
No, you
I think
have
that's the standard.
to be brave. Actually, what I'm doing is, from the bow point of view.
So you crush it a bit.
Yeah, I crush it a
left
bit,
hand.
but I keep going, you know, I keep going with the same pressure. I don't do... I do... And of course, left and right has to be totally synchronized. If you... Yeah, it sounds terrible, right?
Don't you think that perfection is right before terrible?
Always on the edge, always on the edge.
Yeah. And that's also this kind of bravery, right? And
Right.
I think people are very afraid to do that today. I mean, like recording, competitions, like you're going to get disqualified. It's
But when you get older, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, take it or leave it.
So do we all have to wait till we're older to play well? Do you encourage students to go to competitions? Like what's your take on just the value of competitions?
Nowadays you have to do auditions for orchestras if you want to have a job, if you want to have a living.
What do you mean? You didn't have to do that?
Yeah, I did it once.
Once and done.
Yes. But it's a good practice, I think, because you have to learn a certain program.
Yeah.
And you have to go through your Bach and Paganinis and violin concertos, and most people, they only have a few violin concertos in their repertoire. You know, Mozart first movement and Sibelius first movement, and that's how they get their living. If they play that good enough, they get a job in the orchestra, and they don't have to practice anymore. But if you have the need to make a nice sound, if you love the violin, then you have a lot of repertoire and you're curious. And this passage in the Sibelius concerto, you know, now we're getting aggressive again now. And then I thought I do the second time. And so he had this stick again, and he said, get up to the piano. His violin was on the grand piano, and got this violin, this old man standing like this, you know, looking with these eyes here from the picture, looking up. And I was focused on his right and left hand. What's going to happen now? And he showed me this first note. And then what he did was like, for me, like a miracle. I cannot explain the...
What people typically do is what?
Yeah, on the D string it's possible. But he was 80, yeah, and I tried it hours and hours, and I just couldn't solve it. Still, on a very high age, he could play fantastic, but by the way, not ping pong, because yeah, when we had a party at his place, I was instructed to let him win with ping pong. And they said, don't win, because you have to let him win. It's Heifetz, you know, he's older, and he will get really sour if you win. But I wanted to try it out. I was a bad boy. Yeah. So I put him in a corner, and he was too late, of course. I mean, he was 80.
This reminds me of your phone call that you recorded. Yeah. You were kind of naughty.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I was. And so he said, okay, now you win, but tomorrow in your Bach Chaconne. It's nice, you know.
Very interesting to me in the GLUCK, just noticing what he does with the tip of the bow. And that's one of the first things that really caught me, because I heard him before I saw him play.
Yeah.
And it's these moments of extreme tenderness.
Expression here is in the intonation. So if you play the normal notes, it doesn't say anything.
Too high.
Yeah, no. Yeah, if you do this, you distract the line.
I see.
Yeah. And come back. Yeah, you play with the B flat, huh?
I think that I picked up from him. I think he did it in that video.
I think he did it
just
too, yeah.
Picked it up.
You could improve the intensity with a faster vibrato, you know. You have a good vibrato. Yeah, you can be more intense in connecting the vibrato, you know, in the hand, so that you do every note not new, but you. Yeah, also. And don't let go with the bow. Yeah. So this heavy bow feeling, yeah? Yeah, make the direction also on those three notes. So yeah, you can take the bow pressure away. No? Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, that you get
away
softer.
from it,
Yeah, nice. It has to be totally rhythmical. Yeah, listen. But with crescendo. A bit too high. And it's such a nice relief moment there. Yeah? But it was really nice here.
When I did it?
Yeah. I loved it. This really had a true meaning. Now still grow. And the relief. And this glissando, here we have it again. Yeah, I concentrate on the highest note, not on the glissando. Immediately vibrate. Good. Yeah, take your time.
Yeah, so rushed.
Yeah, it's kind of an ending. Huh?
This is a difficult one because you want this nice slide, but there's no time.
Yeah.
There's a dee-dee
You have to
right
be
away.
fast. You have to
So
be
like
fast.
the timing of that.
With the first finger. Now this is kind of slow motion. Yeah, so you stay with it, and the thing you are doing is you listen, and then you stop. Yeah. And as I said, you can also look at it and see where it is, you know, a few times, and then you already. Yeah, it's very good. You keep concentrated on the sound. Not think, okay, I have to go with my arm like this,
Right.
because then you're wrong.
I mean, you mentioned you do the trombone shift, but I don't think that's a trombone shift, where it's just you're taking an elevator and moving it.
Well, I don't do it first the thumb and then this, but look at the thumb.
Yeah,
So I go with the whole hand.
right, but I think you throw the finger
Yeah,
at the note,
yeah.
as opposed to
push it
just
forward.
bringing it with the arm to the new position.
Maybe
kind
that's
of.
a psychological.
You can't make that sound if you do this.
No.
Yeah, but
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, good.
luck.
Yeah. Maybe.
So you wanted to tell me something about the octaves, yeah?
Oh yes. Let's get.
And to me, that if you listen to some of Heifetz's great recordings, like Sibelius, and some of these short pieces, like this Mendelssohn on Wings of
Yeah.
Song, and Wieniawski, the octaves are so powerful, but not forced. They soar. So how
Yeah.
how does he do that?
Got strings.
Okay.
Okay.
This is
no, but listen. What I've seen once
true though.
in the Paganini Caprice, I was doing the octaves. And then it comes piano. Now, what is missing? Yeah, and then Heifetz, of course, with the stick again. The moment that you go after the repeat, he said it's fine to do the piano because there has to be some difference. But the moment after the repeat, then you have to get to the forte again. Yeah, and of course I had a fear, and I was playing these octaves softer than before. but it has not the intensity which he then played for me. Yeah, so he stood up and he played this, but with such intensity. I never forget that. I should practice, and then I can come close. Yeah, but you can imagine if you know his sound, and then with gut strings, you have this feeling. Yeah, so now it's still not, it's 80%, yeah, but yeah, he was really teaching with no limits. You could do almost everything. And here I have in the Sibelius Concerto. Yeah, I play like this. So again, Rudolf, did you see this? It has to be connected. Yeah, but Mr. Heifetz, I connect it. Yeah, no. He says it's one string, so it should be on G string, and then he played he played the whole passage, but with such intensity.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was not practicing. I mean, with 79, maybe every morning he drank his vodka and was playing half an hour.
And I feel like when he would do something like that, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, still kind of cool. Not this.
Yeah, and it looked,
you can't see
it looked
that it's
totally relaxed. And when I still try to remember how it looked, it was like really small, everything. It was like here, and a very small violin, and these fingers, and in the right place, and with this intensity and vibrato, and it sounded much better than on the records, even.
I remember you briefly tried to make me do such things with the Prokofiev Second Concerto.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember I struggled with that, and I didn't see the purpose of it per se.
But you know what?
Now I understand. It's just an expression of this no fear and kind of
It's devilish. But he taught me those things. He said, "Hey, come on, why do you play this on D string?" Because of course I tried. I tried to get away with the D string there, and he said no. And of course I listened to the recording and thought, how does he do this? So he showed it to me, and then I got to it.
I feel like there's almost a disdain kind of for those kinds of fingerings now. People look at that and they think they're
not necessary.
What is this?
Why
this is
do this? Yeah.
This is so affected and so and like let's do it simple and respect the composer and like this kind of posturing.
But for me it was like some kind of sports, because I was 18, when I saw this 80-year-old man doing these things which I could not do and probably will never be able to do. So it was kind of, I want to do this also. And this is a bit away now, because people think, you should not imitate, you should not copy this, do normal. Another story, Heifetz had the premiere of the Cigano of Ravel. And so he was very nervous because Ravel was going to be in the audience. Yeah, and so he told me the story. And of course, that is also no fear to tell a story like that, because Ravel insisted on coming to his room, hotel room, and listening to it before he goes on the stage. So Heifetz played his stuff, and he said, I did my things, and then Ravel said, if you play like this, I will walk out of the room, of the concert hall, and you will have a bad critic because that's not very good if the composer walks out. Then Heifetz said, yeah, but I have to sell the music. You can write it, but I have to sell it to the audience. And that's what we were just discussing, you know. Yeah. He had to sell this. And so he played it exactly like Ravel wanted it, like it's written. And then, of course, he had humor. But to tell this, you know, you need also to be brave. You cannot tell a story like that and think, what will people think of me, that I did wrong things and that Ravel wanted his thing. But he said, I played it like that, and Ravel stayed in the hall. I had a great critic, and ever after I played it my way, and I didn't do a bad thing either. Yeah, so it's funny. It's a funny story. You can see it, you know.
Yeah, I feel like if I was a composer, I would want someone with a clear talent and voice to exploit and maximize their voice with my piece.
Yeah. And you know the story about the Grunberg concerto, that there's this octave thing.
Yes.
Talking about octaves. And then Heifetz went up to Grunberg, and Grunberg was conducting. Mr. Grunberg, could you change this octave passage because it's unplayable? And then Grunberg came to him and said, you are Heifetz, aren't you? And so Heifetz played it, but he played it in a way that with no fear and so out of tune. It's so good. It's really
Yeah.
and then you hear all the notes.
And I think that bravery not only functions artistically, but also very technically. Like, there's a difference between someone making a mistake and then someone making kind of a musical mistake. Where, I don't know, when great artists make mistakes, it doesn't stay in my mind for more than a moment.
Yeah, sure.
It disappears,
It's not a mistake. But if you are really synchronized, you can just make a non-stop bowing. You can do up, down bow, and you don't notice it. Yeah, that's also a thing. If you're playing. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, you have 4 things with the same fingers, with the same intonation.
Yeah.
So the dynamics always have to, that's the bow, that's the pressure, has to be smooth, has to be... You know, there was once a famous violinist, I don't mention names. He said, Heifetz is the best violinist for the worst music. Yeah? And of course, then I'm thinking, who is then the worst violinist for the best music? Probably that guy who said that. This was a European violinist.
Yeah.
They were skeptic about this, about Korngold Concerto, about those.
I think that skepticism is still there, like for short pieces.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
People don't treat it as real music. I mean, here in Europe, I don't know, it's very popular to do like all the sonatas of X composer in one night. And like that's the serious thing to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a friend who collects old programs, amazing programs like Fritz Kreisler and some Heifetz programs. And half of the pieces on there I've never even heard of. Some short pieces and nobody plays anymore. But
it's very sad, but those times are over. You cannot do it, revive this.
But you've revived it.
No. Yeah, maybe a bit. Yeah. But there are so many more of those nice pieces. And then I think, what's the sense? Come on.
Well, if nobody plays them, there's no sense.
But I really enjoyed recording the Glazunov and the Saint-Saëns now.
What I noticed from you, though, I mean, you do like Franco-Belgian, I guess you can call it, but you don't do a lot of this stuff.
No.
So it's that like...
But that's actually a misconception, you say that?
Misconception, yeah.
Misconception. I have many students who learned that, and it doesn't work. you get these gaps.
Mm-hmm.
The connection is there dynamically if you don't do that. Yeah, if you are honest,
You're just doing it with bow speed.
you don't have time for that. Yeah,
It's nice.
Of course-
I've never seen
of
that
course I-
hand do that before.
but
It's very
I
weird.
had to learn from my teacher, my first teacher. He said, you take a pencil when you're in school, you know, when you're bored, you go like this. And it looked so nice when he did it, but I could never do it. It's just for me physically not possible to push away these fingers and hold the bow at the same time. Yeah, so yeah, I was very happy to registrate that there is no such thing.
But it's not stiff. At the same time, you're not like just stone either, right?
Yeah,
Or are you?
but maybe I am.
Here's some bad advice.
It's a bit too wild, huh? I have
I like it.
too much rosin.
I like it.
Yeah, but yeah, so I make a crescendo. And I go exactly in the bow change, I make the crescendo. So the last note is softer than the next note. Yeah, the first note on the up bow, on the bow change. But if you make a diminuendo, it's of course the opposite. If you understand? Yeah?
And physically, what I see from you is that there's this kind of instant change with the speed of the bow,
Yeah,
as opposed to all these moving parts.
yeah.
It's kind of one part,
Yeah.
and you're trying to maintain this speed and
The
line.
speed and the pressure and the line, yeah.
And I think that's what Heifetz and Milstein also did. So
Yeah.
you're kind of doing. You can hold the bow like this, like that, but some of these principles, I think,
Yeah.
are crucial for that sound.
Yeah. And of course the pressure of the sound, if you want to have an attack and a strong sound, you need this leverage. You say leverage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you can develop with holding a broomstick in the middle and do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then slowly hold it on the end and try to do it. Get better.
No, but
Yeah.
yeah, this.
So you think it's this?
turning.
It's not fingers and wrist.
No, it's here. This.
It's rotation.
Yeah, you
Okay.
you get a lot of power with that.
Yeah, with the bigger joints. Yeah.
I see many people, they want this, that's not good, the arm. But the rotation, that's of course
I see.
unlimited power. I could break a bow.
Please don't.
Yeah, I don't. This is my suckery. But look,
Yeah.
and I have a special stick for that to show. But you can see, this is bamboo. So if you,
Wow.
yeah, so you have almost unlimited power here because it's a lever. Yeah? So you don't need this in the wrist or in the arm. Yeah, you have this. Did we talk about the synchronity, left and right? Because if you have a bow change, your finger has to be in time.
Yes.
Yeah, and if your finger is wishy-washy, not in time, you cannot make this bow change.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a very important thing, that left and right has to be totally synchronized. So you have to be able to play fast stuff, with bow changes. Like this. Try. should be like a machine almost. Yeah.
We're cutting this out.
And this more difficult. This is really important as holding the line with the dynamics, you know, in the bow changes, but also if you have the fear of not being synchronized, you won't make these bow changes right.
Yeah, it feels like that immediacy of it kind of just removes potential
so
problems.
You can, try.
Lifting each time?
Yeah,
like
yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. You just have to be aware of it and practice a little bit these things. Because you can actually, if you do yeah, there you have it. I mean, and people have a fear of playing those things because they are not synchronized enough.
Something like this feels like such a mechanical, it's not artistic at all, but yet it's so important for the artistic product.
Yeah.
So I think that it's something I think about often is like people separate music and technique very often as separate things. And the more I study, the more I feel like that's a false dichotomy, that they're really one and the same. And so like when you do technical, fancy, impressive things, I don't see technique because it's always integrated with the expression and it's serving the expression.
So beyond technique, magic starts.
It's a good name for the video. When was the last time the school organized a Heifetz Legacy Masterclasses with you leading it?
Why? I mean,
this is such a special thing. Another teacher whose name won't mention, like, gets a lot of attention, you know, famous competition. And to me, I'm looking at you and like, no, this is the thing we need. And as a result, your studio is like an interesting filtration process of people who are really looking for that thing. They're really interested in that thing.
Yeah.
It felt like a little bit of a secret, almost like a club.
Yeah.
And I want the club to be bigger.
Yeah. So then you have to come more often.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Well, Professor Koelman, it's been a pleasure to see you after 11 years.
Yes.
An 11-year break. Thank you again for being inspiration to me and many people that I know. And now I have to go practice.
Yes.
I have to go practice.
Do that.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Nice vibrato.
E flat minor in fingered octaves. G flat in 10th major.
But you still get the sound, right? You know the anecdote about Ravi Shankar, the great sitar player, that he had a concert in the Dodgers Stadium in Los Angeles. And it fits 50,000 people. So he was sitting on a stage in the middle of the field, and he gets his instrument and starts playing. And after 10 minutes, he stops, and huge applause, people really screaming, and wow. And then he takes the microphone, he says, "I was only tuning." Because an instrument like this has 100 strings. And look who wrote this letter. You recognize? It's a letter from Paganini.
Really?
Yeah. And it's original. From this period, it's only 4 letters. This is one of them. He was with his 3-year-old son, Achille. He was in Germany on tour. And after he went to Vienna. Yeah, it's a special thing. I think this is magic. No? The stamp is original, and the seal, it was from his ring. Yeah, amazing seal. Here is Mr. Kurganov.
Those were the days. I look
Those were the days.
I look so young and healthy.
Young, you look, but healthy.
Mildly.
Yes, you look.
It's questionable. It's questionable.
This was the class at that time, and we went to Korea with my orchestra. So I played this part for Heifetz. We had to play high positions, and I had to make some fantasy. So I played this. Yeah, so really nice. But then he said, no. He was already 81, and he went to his violin, like an old man, gets his violin. He said, no, Rudolf, this is no fantasy. You have to do something nice.
Maybe play slow. Give us exercises for vibrato now. No?
No, I cannot teach you that.
No,
For a price, maybe.
You have to learn that yourself.
How?
By practicing.
How can you learn that?
Because